guys, welcome back to our Non-Toxic Podcast. I am Hannah, and I feel like this goes without saying, especially if you're watching on YouTube, but this is another solo episode. I promise this will not last forever. I will be rejoined by my beautiful other half very soon, but you guys know how it is. The holidays, the travel, everything else is just a little bit difficult to schedule sometimes, so we're just making do. So if you are disappointed to see me all by my lonesome today, I suggest you turn it off and turn something else on. But for the rest of you that are beautiful, accepting little sunflowers, I'm so happy to see you. So we have so much to discuss. I already know this is going to be one that I just chat incessantly. Everyone listening is like, girl, that's not new. This is exactly what happens every single time. But I have at least 14 days worth of things to catch you up on. I have so many thoughts. My notes, which I don't usually do. I guess I do a lot of notes all the time because I just love to have things to say. But I have like a page and a half of notes, thick, like paragraph notes. But it's because we have an actual topic this time, and by we, I do mean myself. But I wanted to make sure that I have all of my thoughts laid out and I don't forget anything, because I do tend to do that whenever I get derailed. Again, news to everyone, I know. First and foremost, I would like to say that I did change my archetype of outfit. I was editing last week's episode 2 weeks ago whenever I recorded it, and realized that for 2 consecutive episodes, I wore almost the exact same thing. I had on cargo pants. I had on a crew neck. A white crew neck. Actually, one was gray, but potato, potato. And they were both Marvel-themed crew necks. One was a Spider-Man. One said, "To grow old in," which is a quote from WandaVision. And my hair was like up in a messy claw clip updo situation with sneakers. And here I thought both times I was being original. I thought I did not like have any kind of comparison of outfit to outfit in my head. I just picked my outfit out in the morning. And it made me think that if I were a cartoon character, this is exactly what I would be drawn in every single day, every single episode for the duration of the show. Much like Timmy Turner is in his pink shirt and his pink baseball cap every single time we see an episode of Fairly Odd Parents, I would be in a crew neck and cargo pants with an updo, for better or for worse. So that made me do some self-reflecting, and I did put on a different outfit for you today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you're watching via your ears, which some would call listening, I have on some tights, some boots, a little pair of khaki shorts, and a turtleneck, and it's to be determined if this is a look or not, because I will be taking Instagram photos after this, and if I don't delete them all, you will see them on Instagram. So very proud of myself for that. Thank you for your round of applause. Please save it till the end. It is a snow day today. It is currently Tuesday the 9th. If you're listening the day it comes out, this is yesterday, because we love to wait till the last minute around here. And I have an excuse this time. I was not in the country to record, so I had no access to this lovely studio. But I'm back now. It's snowing. Went straight from the beach back to beautiful, tropical, balmy Missouri. But honestly, I love the snow, and I love the coziness, and I love everything being canceled, so I have no complaints at all. I had yesterday and today, Monday and Tuesday, completely cleared because I flew back with my family, my husband's family, on Sunday. I don't know how much of a trip recap you guys really want. I'll give you the overview. So this is our annual vacation we take with our husband's family. And by our, I mean my husband's family. And that would be my in-laws, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my husband, and myself. So 6 of us. We flew out to Fort Lauderdale last Thursday, spent a day and a half there. The following Saturday, we got onto the boat. We had an 8-day cruise. It was fantastic. We went to St. Martin, St. Kitts, Puerto Rico, and Haiti. I didn't know that until we were going. It's not within my jurisdiction to know. I just pack my bags and show up. So last year was the first cruise that I ever took, 2023, January. And I was expecting it to be this tropical, beautiful, just serene, lay out by the beach kind of situation. And let me disclaim, I am so grateful for the free vacation that I did get to go on, and it was fantastic. But last year, I was disappointed because it was not what I had envisioned. And by that, I mean, when you're moving on a boat at like 30 miles an hour through the open seas, it can be a little breezy, which can make it a little bit chilly, which makes it difficult to lay out. And in my head, all I was going to do last time out on this cruise was lay out like a lizard, soak up the sun, and that just wasn't in the cards considering the weather situation and also the wind. So I didn't really know what to do. I only brought 2 small, like Colleen Hoover length books and read them in the first day and a half. My sister-in-law swapped books. We finished everything, and I just ended up being kind of bored because I don't gamble. I don't have kids, so there's a lot of things that are geared more towards people who are drinking, and my husband's family doesn't drink, and nobody wants to just go get crunk on a cruise ship by themselves. So I don't typically drink, and that just limited my range of what I was doing. So this year, I was much more prepared. I know exactly what a cruise is. I brought not one, not two, not three, but four massive, thick fantasy novels. And that was a little overkill. I only got through 2.5 of them. I'm almost done with the third one. But I didn't want to run out because last year what happened is I ran out and I was so bored and I was just twiddling my thumbs the entire time, wasting my vacation, not being happy because I had no book to read. So I was determined not to let that happen again. This time I brought Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, which is a sequel, and then I brought Crescent City 1 and Crescent City 2, and I'm halfway through Crescent City 2. I will do a little review later in the episode, so hang tight. Don't just hold your horses. So I brought the books. First thing, we get onto the little flight deck, and I'm checking my bag, and my suitcase is 9 pounds over. That means my suitcase was 59 pounds for those who don't travel often. And usually it's Austin, my husband's suitcase, that is over, and I had chastised him and made fun of him for how heavy his suitcase was, only for my own fall to come after the pride. So I had to reshuffle all of my books, put them in someone else's suitcase. It was a little embarrassing. You open your suitcase, just bare your belongings for the whole Delta terminal to see. But we got it checked. Everything was fine. I just didn't have a lot of room for souvenirs, which is probably good because I need nothing else in my home. So we flew out. It was amazing. I read all of my books. This is basically my cruise itinerary, my vacation ideal schedule, if you ever were to go on a vacation and you want to know my specific routine. So on a cruise, you can have room service delivered to your door if you just put a little card on your doorknob the night before. So I would set out the card and mark room service for 6:30 in the morning. Hear me out. I'm not one of those obnoxious morning people, I swear. But the cruise ship sunrises are so beautiful because you can just walk outside your door in your pajamas and sit on the balcony and watch it. So I would have the coffee delivered to me, would wake up when the phone rang, say they're on their way, get the coffee, take it to the balcony, sip my coffee, and just watch the sun come up because I am such a sucker for sunrises. And it was just as beautiful as you'd imagine. Sometimes I would go back to sleep, but sometimes I would just get enthralled in my book and then I'm just awake. But everyone knows you take a vacation nap halfway through your day, so it doesn't really matter. So read, wait till everyone else wakes up, go get a second coffee because coffees are included when you have the drink package. And I will not be telling you how many coffees I average a day because that is neither here nor there, but it was quite a bit. And I'm detoxing now, except for today, where I have consumed an obscene amount of coffee. What happened today was that I woke up, I was going to get some work done. It was a snow day. I made myself a cup of coffee via one Nespresso pod. And I don't like to use multiple Nespresso pods in a day because I am not a billionaire. They are very expensive. So I limit myself to one a day, and if I want a second coffee, I will make a pot of coffee. So the first one happened. I'm having a work from home day up until the point where I would leave to come and record this episode. So I made a pot. I made 10 ounces of coffee, and I had both of those cups. So I had like 2 heaping cups of coffee, 1 regular coffee, and then my dad came over because his work was closed today, and he brought me a third coffee, which you will see right here. Shout out to Cup of Joe's and Nixa. This is delightful. But I am in no position ever to turn down a free coffee. So I drank the 4th coffee of the day. And this is, as you can see, not a small. And I am not really one for breakfast or lunch. I'm usually like a giant smorgasbord dinner kind of person. So my hand is like trembling right now. It was all I could do to get my makeup on without like jabbing an eye out. And I was responsible and thought to bring a snack with me to this recording. And yes, it is a nerd's rope, but if I get hungry, I have a little snack. So follow me for more diet and health advice. But the coffee is good because now I'm ready to chatter with myself for upwards of an hour, which is, I know, everyone's dream. So back to the vacation. We got off on a couple ports. We did a little bit fewer excursions this time just because it wasn't my sister-in-law and I's first cruise, so we didn't really do as many of the touristy things, which is nice. So basically my whole vacation was reading, relaxing, and eating a ton of food. So I am coming back pleasantly plump and happy and just ready to rejoin the world. I didn't buy the cell phone package, and I was having some anxiety before I left about it because this is the longest vacation I've taken without being able to talk to my family or anybody else. So we were on the boat for 9 days, or we got off on the 9th day, I should say, but 8 days. And last year we were only on the boat for 6 total. We got off on the 7th day. So I was a little bit nervous. And I have this anxiety that whenever I'm gone and not accessible, then something bad is going to happen to my family or to my grandparents, to my house, and I'm not going to know about it because no one can get a hold of me. And I have just been struggling with my anxiety more recently. probably because of life events that have transpired. But I was just struggling and I was going to buy the Wi-Fi package. But at the same time, this is the only time that I'm able to unplug because the nature of my work is very plugged. And I used to take a social media hiatus every January to give me time to collect myself and, remember the world outside of social media and outside of public perception and whatever you want to call it. But that's just not a luxury that I can really take right now if I want my business to continue to succeed. And I do. So I take the vacations and breaks where I can get them. And I did all of the work leading up to it. You guys understand because I had a spiral in the last episode that I posted about how hard it is to get everything done because you try and anticipate all the problems and communicate with everyone, but there's always inevitably something that you forget to do. And of course it weighs on you, but there is so much peace. Like when we got on the boat and I put my phone in airplane mode, sent out my final, like, I'll love you, I'll see you in 9 days text. There's so much peace in just being like, okay, well, no matter what happens, whatever shit hits the fan back home, I am not going to know about it for 8 days because I have no way of contacting anyone. And it's terrifying, but you just at some point have to let go and let God. Am I right? So I did that with only a mild amount of anxiety. And I had a great time. I had in my head that I was going to use the time away from social media to go into monk mode and center myself and do some grounding and breath work and meditate and think about all the things I wanted to do for this year and intention setting and resolution setting and X, Y, and Z. But when I got there, it turns out all I wanted to do was read and stare at the ocean. And I think that that was more therapeutic than anything I could have laid out for myself by way of like a meditation or a psychological experience. And it was nice. I feel like I have just as many memories from the events that happened in the books that I read as I do from the actual vacation itself, which is fine with me. I love the memories that I have of flying with dragons. Anyways, so it was very relaxing and it was a great break for me to be able to turn off my brain and not have to worry about anything else that was happening and not even really be inside my own head. And sometimes that is a difficult thing to do because obviously I do reside there, but it's nice to not have to think about any parts of myself. So typically I'm thinking about work, I'm getting text messages, I'm responding to text messages as myself because that is who I am. And this is so convoluted to try and explain, but I know some people will get it. It's just difficult. You want to take a break from being yourself and you want to take a break from the way you think and the way that your mind operates and the things that are weighing on you and just take a break from your responsibilities. And that's truly all I did. I worried about nothing except for when I was going to get to read and how long the coffee line was and how many times I could figure out how to work a coffee in without my husband getting concerned for my cardiovascular health. So it was a nice break, but it was long enough that I started to get homesick. And I have always considered myself so fortunate that every time I go on vacation, I am never sad when it's over because I always want to come home. And even when my husband is with me, I always miss my family and my friends and the coffee shops I go to and my house and just my regular life. So I never take for granted how much of a blessing it is that I don't have one of those lives that I come home and am sad about. So that's my vacation in a nutshell. I'm sure you saw my 89 slide Instagram story if you follow me and didn't just swipe through the whole thing. If you did, I understand. You have to set boundaries and there's only so much of my face you probably want to see. So that's that. It was amazing. We flew in. We actually had the exact opposite experience as we had the previous year because the previous year we had everything go wrong that could have gone wrong. Our first flight was delayed. We missed our second flight. We rented a car. We had to drive home from Dallas. We didn't get home until 4 a.m. Our luggage was lost. My suitcase was damaged. I had to go through this entire thing to try and get my luggage fixed. And it was a disaster. But this time it was super smooth. So no complaints from me. Got home at a reasonable hour, got to do some laundry. I think I washed every single item of clothing that we own because I still had the backlog of post-holiday laundry. I only washed the things that we were taking with us. And then I had the trip laundry, and it was just insurmountable. But alas, I did surmount it. So everything is done. The emails, I just had to bite the bullet. I again have this anxiety that I'm going to come back and all my clients are going to be like, hey, by the way, we hate you and we are ceasing to work with you. And that didn't happen, which is good. So once I came back and realized that my house didn't burn down, my family was not captured by a rogue band of pirates, and my business did not fall apart, I was a little bit better and I could take a deep breath. So that brings us to present day. It's snowing. It's beautiful outside. I had no meetings except for this one with you guys, but I wrote this podcast outline kind of over the course of the past few days just to give myself ample things to discuss with you. So the thing that I feel like I'm feeling the most right now is this piece about not having deadlines. And I'm going to end up talking in circles because this goes back to what I'm going to talk about later. But for so long, basically since June of last year, I have been in this cycle of preparing and catching up and getting ready for the next thing and catching flights and whatever. And now I finally, even though when I came home, I still had this anxiety about, well, I have to get all the laundry done. I have to get my work done. I have to get these new clients onboarded and I have to whatever, have to lose this cruise weight. And then I was like, girl, on your own schedule. There's no rush for the first time in so long because there's nothing that I'm preparing for. There's no cruise, there's no vacation, there's no big holidays. I'm not leaving the country. There's no next work trip. Everything is just done. So there's no rush to get these things. I do need to finish the laundry. Yes. I do need to drink more water and rehydrate and get back in the gym. Yes. I need to get all my work stuff going, but there's no pressure. I have all the time in the world to work every day. I have time in the evenings to relax. There's no jam packing all of this together. And there's so much freedom in that. And I didn't realize how much I had been wound up just trying to get through everything until I got to this point. And I'm like, oh, there's really no rush to get everything done. Like if I don't finish something today, I have tomorrow. And for a long time, it was, if I don't finish this today, my day is 11 hours long tomorrow. I have 10 more things to finish. And by that point, I'll have 2 more galleries to edit. And I'll have these things to do. And I have a client meeting. Like, it was just impossible. So now whenever I look ahead, even tomorrow I have 3 meetings. And then I go home roughly around 1:30, have ample time to finish everything, have ample time to go to the gym, ample time to cook, make my husband watch another episode of Suits. There's just time abound, which is amazing. So I also am having a little bit of a struggle right now. And this is something that I didn't know if I was going to talk about just because I really desperately want to put together a follow-up episode to the one I had released about having my miscarriage. And I have another extensive notes page about that because I just don't want to forget anything. And as time goes on, new emotions surface and other ones kind of dull away. And there's just so many things that I want to talk about, everything from what not to say to someone who's experiencing a miscarriage and things that I hope people know and my recovery process and things that have helped me. And there's just a million things to say, especially with the amazing outpouring of support that I received and the hundreds of women that I got to talk to. And of all of our episodes, of all almost 60 something episodes, that was one of the most viewed and streamed ones, even compared to the ones that are over a year old. So that's just incredibly humbling. And I'm so happy that some good came from that pain. But I want to do that next episode justice. So I'm waiting until I feel like I have everything I want to say and I have all my thoughts wrapped up and just whenever it feels like the right time. All that to say, my recovery mentally, physically, emotionally is still ongoing. And it's one of those things that I don't know how to feel. And I think that's okay. But I'm struggling right now. I struggled on the cruise because I had come to terms with everything and it was in the process of making my peace with it when we left, talking about my home situation in life and everything that was going on here. But leaving, I had several moments like going to the airport even. There was a spot where you could park if you were an expectant mother. And granted, I would only be 10-ish weeks at this point, 11 weeks. Doesn't really fall into the category of needing an extra close parking spot, but still it stings. And it brings back up thoughts like, well, it doesn't apply to me anymore. And then when we go to get on the boat, then they have checkpoints to go through for security. And they have big signs that say, if you're pregnant, you don't need to be exposed to radiation. Let a crew member know and we'll take you an alternate route. And I saw that and it's like another knife in my chest. And it's like, oh, that doesn't apply to me anymore. And then we go on an excursion one day where we have to take a small boat from one island to the next. And everyone is offering nausea patches. And I previously had made a note to ask my doctor if that was okay to use on the boat because I wasn't sure if that was safe for pregnancy. And when the patch was offered to me, I had this moment of like, oh, shoot, I forgot to ask. And then I was like, oh, it does not apply to me and it doesn't matter anymore. So just those little moments where I feel like I'm okay. And then you have these like reminders or these things that pop up. And I was just like torn all over again. And then you have dinner with your family every night and servers and everyone else, they're so kind. And they're making, conversation. And they ask my in-laws, oh, are these your boys? And they're like, yeah, these are my daughters-in-law married to our sons. And they ask how long we've been married. And we say we've been married for a little over 2 years. And they say, oh, any babies? And it's just shocking how common things like that are. And you don't realize it until it's a sensitive subject. And now that I have this open wound, it's like everyone just takes their thumb and just like smushes it down in there. And I am sorry for that visual, but it's just so uncomfortable. And then you have this weird feeling like, okay, everyone's staring at me. My face is getting hot. I'm embarrassed. I feel like everyone in my family is looking at me and thinking like, oh, well, we would have grandkids if it weren't for you. And I know how off base that is. And no one in my family has even made me feel close to that, nor Austin's family. I mean, no one in my life has made me feel like it's my fault in any way. But there's just this shame that comes along with, oh, I lost the baby. And when people are asking us if we have kids or if my in-laws have grandkids, and you just, you can't blame them. They're just making polite conversation, but you just smile and say, oh, not yet. And it's just this constant reminder. And I think that having the quiet of no connection to the outside world and, seeing other families and just the memories that I want to make with my own family one day, it was just a lot of emotions coming back up. And it's probably good because I don't think I had the time to fully think through them. The couple days that I took off after it happened were mainly just me crying and feeling numb. And then I went back to work, and then the holidays came, and you guys know what happened from there. So this was the first time that I've been able to slow down, and it's been 6 weeks since I miscarried. And on the one hand, it feels like a lifetime ago. And on the other hand, I feel like I just got home from the doctor yesterday. So that was challenging. And I do have 2 friends right now that I found out I was pregnant within the same 2-week span that they found out they were pregnant. And we were all supposed to be due in July of next year. And I am not pregnant anymore, and they are. And I just found out yesterday that another person who's very, very close to me is also pregnant, and she's 8 weeks, which will put her due next August. And it's just such a complicated thing to navigate because I know how precious life is now more than ever. And I fully treasure and cherish pregnancy and conception and birth and babies and families, and how much of a marvel it truly is for a baby to come from conception all the way through a pregnancy to a healthy delivery. And I would never, ever hope that anything deters the family from achieving that. But it's like salt in the most gaping wound that I have ever had. And it's this exercise in trusting God because I know all of the right things. I know what I've been taught. I know that God has a plan and everything happens for a reason. And I know that whenever I have my family one day, whether it's by having my own kids or by adopting or whatever God's plan for Austin and I's life is, I know that one day I will have a full house and I'll look back on this time and be like, I can't imagine it happening any other way because I have my family now. But that is not my reality at this moment. So it's very difficult to look around and see people not only having something that was ripped away from me, but having it at the exact stage and the exact milestone that I was supposed to be at. And I've cried a lot of tears over that, especially the past 24 hours. And it's just so complicated because I don't blame them. I'm not angry at anyone. I'm just angry in general. And I'm angry that I don't have it. And I'm envious and I'm sad for me, but I'm so happy for them because I know how much I prayed for a baby. And I can only imagine that they've been doing the same thing. And I don't think that I deserve to have a baby any more or less than any of them. So I would never wish fertility struggles or miscarriage or anything on anyone else, even just from the small bit of it that I've experienced. And then I get angry with myself because I don't feel as joyous as I know I would have if this hadn't happened to me. And I want to be happier, and I wish I was a better person, and I wish that I just felt this pure joy and, had completely boundless faith that my turn is coming and that I could just wait on God's timing, because that's the good Christian thing to do, is to just know that He has a plan and that, God works good in all things, and that however things are supposed to go is how they will go. But I am just a person, and I am not feeling very joyous. I'm feeling a little bit dark and twisty and bitter, and I am working on it, and I'm praying every day. And if any of my amazing friends are listening, I hope you know how truly, truly deserving you are of all of this blessing and joy and just the gift of a child. And I just don't know how to process it. And I think that's okay. And I even remember for the time that I was pregnant, worrying about how I was going to tell some of my friends that were struggling and feeling very guilty about even being happy. So I know that it's just a journey that every single person has to walk with their own spouse and with God. And however they choose to cope, but it doesn't take away just the difficulty in navigating all of that. So I am struggling, but I know that I am not the first person to feel these feelings, and I won't be the last. I don't expect anyone to put their life on hold because of me. I know that God is in control, regardless of whether or not I feel that in my bones at this very moment, because I'm not feeling especially assured. But that's okay. And faith is never meant to be perfect and unwavering. It's just meant to be a lifeline. And I have talked God's ear off via my journal the past couple days. So if anyone was wondering how I'm doing, that's just a little update. I know that I had heard from several women who were going through a miscarriage within the same time span that I am. And even though for me, it's easy to see the announcements and the pregnancies and the bumps and the ultrasound photos, because it seems like that's all anyone posts about, because no one really talks about their loss. There are just as many people who are struggling and are in the labyrinth of emotions that I am right now. So I wanted to put that out there, and we will get through it. And I'm hoping that I will have another update for you soon with maybe some coping tips, or at least, hey, I'm hanging in there. But anyways, moving on to something more happy. I have been reading quite a bit, and forgive me for the whiplash that you just got, but I read the book Fourth Wing and Iron Flame for my fantasy book girlies. Those two are fantastic. They cured my book hangover that I had from reading the entire ACOTAR series. And now I'm reading Crescent City, and it's written by the same author, Sarah J. Maas, as the ACOTAR series. And everyone was just raving about it and saying it was incredible. And I am finally getting to the part where I think it could be incredible. But I'm not going to lie, it was a slow start. It was a lot of world building and a lot of fantasy. And even for someone as entrenched in nerdiness as I am, it was a struggle to get through. So now that I'm finally on page like 350 something, I'm like, okay, this is picking up, and I'm hoping that it's worth it. Everyone on TikTok and in my book talk life says that it is. So I'm just hanging on to that. Please don't lead me astray. Next, I was nominated for the Springfield Business Journal's 40 Under 40 list, and I have been nominated for 3 years in a row. This is my third. I've not gotten it the past couple years, obviously, which is disappointing. And I don't know why I feel the need to say it, but I feel like it's a personal epiphany, because prior to going out on my own, I worked for a bank, and in the Springfield's business world, these lists are a huge deal, and the SBJ gets sent to every business, every waiting room, all these things. And it's been a goal of mine for as long as I can remember to make that list. And every single year I have been so elated to get nominated. And then you have to fill out this questionnaire and answer all these things as to your involvement and your volunteer work and how you've impacted the success of others and so on and so forth. And every year I put my heart and soul into that essay. And for the past 2 years, I've gotten the letter of, I'm so sorry you didn't make the list. We hope to see you on the nominees list again next year. And this is the first year that I got the email saying I was nominated, and I was like, huh. And I really didn't feel that over the moon feeling, because I think I just have stopped caring about that. And I don't want to attribute it to my just blatant depression that I've been in, because that's not it. I think I've just had so much growth in this past year that this accolade that used to mean so much to me as to my business acumen and my ranking in the Springfield Business Society, which in the grand scheme of things is what, but I just had this feeling like, of course I'm going to fill it out and be excited if I am honored. But it's like I'm free from this like clutch that I really, really just had to be on that to validate my own, I don't know, delusions of grandeur about myself and my career. So I don't know. I'll keep you guys posted. We're supposed to find out February 2nd. So we'll find out in about 2 weeks if I made that list or not. And if I didn't make it, then, better luck next time. I guess I'll volunteer for some more things. But if I do, then we'll celebrate and have a little party. So stay tuned. Next. I wanted to talk about all of this with Bree, but I also am well aware that when this episode comes out, it will be already January 10th. And by the time we record next, the next episode won't come out until already halfway through January. And whenever it's the new year or the holidays, I like to consume content about the new year or the holidays. And I don't want to release this past everyone's point of caring. So with that being said, we're going to take this on solo, and I would love to touch on it again with Miss Brianna Wise. But for now, we are going to look back at my 2023. I'm going to talk you through my year, my goods, bads, uglies, recap it all, tie it up in a nice little bow and throw it over my shoulder. And then we're going to jump into my goals for the next year, which is now the current year. Let me sip my coffee, hold that thought. Also, as a side note, if you see me looking up this direction, it's because there's the camera monitor on the wall. And I have mentioned my technical difficulties pretty much every episode, but I wanted to be able to see myself, and my continuity camera is just not working. And I've troubleshot it millions of times, and it's just not meant to be, I guess. But I need to see for my own peace of mind that the camera is still recording. It's less about seeing myself because I'm going to look and make weird faces regardless of if I can see how I look. But I need to glance up every so often and see that it's still recording. Otherwise, I will spiral and get anxious and not be able to focus on what I'm saying. So if you see me doing this, just know I'm staring at myself. 2023. So we did an episode about this last year. And if you want to know how I started off the year, like mentality-wise, you can go back and re-listen to that because I think it was a great episode talking about goal setting and everything else. So if you're looking to get into the motivation and all of those things, you can hear our words of the year and all of that. And to my credit, I think that I achieved most of my resolutions. I did not go back and pull them up because I don't remember where I put the list. I think it's probably buried in my notes somewhere, but I am someone who lives and dies by my notes app. There are at least 4 full anthologies of short stories and poetry in my notes app that I have just never let see the light of day. So it's impossible to find. However, I remember most of them. I had some business goals, some milestones in that way, some travel goals, just things like having a healthier relationship with food, not necessarily working out to lose weight, things like that. And I really do feel like I accomplished most of them. The things that I didn't accomplish were I fell short of my gross annual income milestone, which I did set, pretty freaking high in the sky. But I came very close to it, and I am proud of where I landed. You know that old phrase, if you shoot for the moon and miss, at least you land among the stars, whatever that was. It's true. And I'm happy being amongst the stars with my final income. Just don't ask me how I'm going to feel about it come tax season. So we're not going to think about that today. And I wanted to run a half marathon, and I put that on my list tentatively. And then I did say, if I don't do it, please don't bring it up to me, but I'll fess up, I didn't do it. And that's because I just didn't get back into running until later in the year. And I've been pretty honest about how I work out. I really don't believe in forcing myself to work out anymore because that's whenever it gets to be a drag and I start to dread it again, and I don't like that. So I work out in the way that I want to work out, whether it's weightlifting or running bleachers or running long distance or doing yoga or whatever it is. I just try and listen to my body and what I'm wanting during that period. And for me, running didn't re-enter my solar system until like October. And then I just had a lot of stuff going on, So I did not run a half marathon. Maybe this year, we'll see. I'm not going to go ahead and carve that in the stone. But last year, I remember starting off the year and I was panicking because I had probably 6 or 7 clients out of my 20 or so that I had at the time not renew with me. So that's a fourth of my clients. And it was a pretty significant hit to my monthly revenue. And I was just panicking, thinking it was me. And in my efforts to make peace with that and trust God and be okay with that, I was like, you know what? My resolutions are going to be different than just business. I'm going to set my goals and everything, but I want to have peace. And I was working very hard on separating my own identity from my business and my own self-worth from my business's success and my financial contributions to our household. So that was my goal at the beginning of the year. And I was like, obviously, God just has a slower plan for me. He wants me to, ease into it. I'm learning these lessons. This is what God is telling me. And God said, don't tell me what I'm trying to do. And about February or March, everything just went crazy. I signed 6 or 7 new clients, made everything back up. They were bigger than the ones that I had lost. And it was a whirlwind. And it was very stressful at the time because I just didn't know how I was going to handle it as a one-woman show. And I was on top of the world until I wasn't. So I had a situation early in this year where it was kind of a judgment call. I had a chance to take on another opportunity, and a client that I was working with before wasn't comfortable with that. We didn't have a non-compete clause or anything, and I wanted to take on both clients, and only one was comfortable with that. And I gambled, and I hurt my previous client, and I accept full responsibility for, not staying loyal to someone who I think would have lasted longer with me professionally. And it was a hard fought lesson. I lost a lot of sleep over that. and I did what I thought was the best for my business financially. And I gambled on something being more lucrative in the long run, and then ended up being a very, very short lasting contract. All that to say, it was very challenging. I felt very guilty. I felt like I made the wrong choice. I was very hard on myself. It was just a very stressful situation for me. And I knew that I had stepped in it, to be honest. And it was just a difficult thing because I had never had a situation where I felt like I had genuinely screwed up beyond something like, oh, I was supposed to send that email and I didn't send it, or I was supposed to finish this, I didn't finish it. Like little tiny inconsequential things I have obviously done wrong or blundered or whatever, but I have not had something where I felt like I made a significantly poor judgment call. And I really did lose some sleep over that. And I was very hard on myself and I felt horrible. I felt like the client that I had lost hated me, and it was just challenging. And I look back now, and as much as I fretted over that at the time, I can see how much that helped me grow. And it almost gave me this mentality of who cares? Because maybe you will be wrong, and maybe you will lose the client, and maybe they will hate you, and maybe somebody will yell at you, and maybe somebody will call you this, or maybe you'll have the worst case scenario and you'll try and get something big and you'll get none of it. So it was almost like in that situation, it was the quote worst case scenario, but life went on. And I felt like shit, and I did not enjoy going through that at all. And I cried and whatever else, not luckily in a situation that was public. I cried to my husband, but then I moved on. And you know what? It got better, and I have seen my client, and I was honest with them, and I told them, hey, I made a poor call and I'm sorry. And I was able to, take responsibility because it's all you can do. And as difficult as that situation was for me, I do attribute a lot of my growth to having gone through that, because if I hadn't ever had a situation really go south, I don't think that I would have ever stopped fearing situations going south, if that makes sense. It's kind of backwards, but I was always afraid of worst case scenario. I was afraid of backlash. I was afraid of upsetting people. And until I did and realized like, oh, well, it's going to suck, but you are going to get through it and things will be okay again, then I don't think that I would have ever grown, because I was very anxious and I was a huge people pleaser and I didn't set boundaries. And I don't know, it helped me grow very, very much professionally at the beginning of the year. And I think I needed that because it was going to turn into one of the most challenging years professionally of my life. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing there are so many parallels to my current situation that I could take on, but I'm just not ready to come to terms with that yet. So don't expect me to. Anyways, so that was the beginning of the year. Spring through about June was crazy chaotic because I threw a baby shower. I threw 3 bridal showers. I had 2 bachelorette parties. We had 5 weddings, my husband and I, this year that we were in, not just attended, that we were in. And it was just crazy. And everyone knows how it is. You spend so much money. You owe someone for a t-shirt. You're buying this. You're splitting a cost here. My Venmo just went crazy. And we were gone constantly, but it was so much fun. I have so many good memories. I feel like that was one of the most chaotic but memory-rich experiences of my life. And I will never, ever change that. I have done so many fun things this year with my friends, and I got to watch 2 of my closest friends get married, and I got to watch another one of my closest friends have her baby after battling with infertility and going through IVF. And it's just been a beautiful, chaotic, registry full year, but it was amazing. And juggling work with that was also very challenging. But going into June, I was like, okay, my sister-in-law's wedding was June 10th. I'm going to take this month, cut back a little bit, not take on any a la carte projects, just kind of get through it, see how we're feeling. And then I'm going straight into this work contract that I was traveling to Dallas for a week in July for. So June was one of those months that I look back on and I was like, I peaked. I have never been more attractive, happier, more carefree, more fit. That is it for me. And to this day, I look back at photos of myself from June and I'm like, I don't know her. She was tan. I was going outside every single day. I would work until like 11, go outside, lay out, read until like 12, 12:30, come back, go work out, come back, work, shower, obviously, disgusting. Work again until like, I don't know, 6 or so, and then do whatever my evening activity was. So I just broke up my work day differently, and I had a lot less on my plate for that specific month, knowing that I was going to have this crazy wall of tasks come July. So June was just the best, most fun month. It was right whenever I dipped back into this just delusional obsession with Marvel. It's always been there. It was dormant for a while. In June, it just exploded out of me like a phoenix from the ashes. So I was just in the throes of that obsession. I had time, I had the sun, everything was great. And I have so many happy memories of just being by myself in June. Like I obviously have memories with my friends too, but when your head is a happy place to be, it's almost like I just look back fondly on that time of my life. And it doesn't make me sad that I'm not there right now. It gives me so much hope because I know I can get back to that. I know that I've gone through the trenches and then I've been in the clouds and whatever. And I know that I'll get back to that point again, even if right now I'm just like at the bottom of the crevasse, just staring up at the sky. We'll get there eventually. So that's okay. And come July, I could have probably prepared better, but I like to have things kind of compartmentalized. So if I can have a full month of peace and being a little slower and enjoying life, and then a full month of just chaos, craziness, insanity, but my peaceful month is protected, I'm going to do that. So June was peaceful, beautiful, amazing. July, I did not take a single day off the entire month. And I'm talking days, evenings, weekends. Like I was working until 2 a.m. some nights. And the reason for that was because I had my entire load of clients. I had my 22 clients. I had several freelance projects that came up during that time. And some of those I just can't turn down. Either the money is great or, I really like the client and I want to make sure I have the chance to work with them in the future, or it's just a fun project. So I had so many things on my plate that I was trying to finish. And that was whenever I was preparing for my first work trip. So I was about to leave the state for a week, be completely dedicated to the client that I was traveling with. And I wanted to make sure that I had nothing else to worry about during that time. So getting all of that work done in what should have been 4.5 weeks, in 3.5 weeks, and then traveling, it was just crazy. I was very stressed. I did not sleep. I didn't work out. I just was like, it was the complete opposite of my June. But in all things, there was balance. So I went on this work trip. It was incredible. I had the time of my life. I was so on fire for work and I got so motivated and I saw these people and I was like, I just have so many ambitions now. And it's like, it just renewed my passion for what I do. And that contract turned into a couple more with the same client. And then I had a few of my existing clients that were like, oh, I didn't know that you traveled. Let's go to Vegas. And I said, okay. So that started this 9-week bender of work trips, which I didn't really know was a possibility for me being self-employed and in social media. I never thought to offer it, and I will try anything once, So I went to Dallas, New York, Cincinnati, not Chicago, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Vegas. Where else did I go? I did go to Florida and Charleston, but those were personal. So there were just so many trips back to back to back. Basically, in 9 weeks, I think I had 7 weeks that I was gone or something like that. And it was this constant battle of, this is that callback moment that I'm referring to, what I touched on in the beginning, of get ahead and then I'm gone and then I'm catching up and then I'm looking ahead. I have another trip in 2 weeks. I have to get ahead and then I get ahead and then I'm gone and then I have to catch up and then I'm looking ahead and then I have another trip. So I have to get ahead for that. And it's just this constant cycle where I was never really able to take a deep breath, because even if I had a Sunday or I had, a quote day off, which everyone who's self-employed knows is really not existent because you always can be doing more, then I would look and there's so much else that I haven't finished, or there's more to edit, or there's a contract to return. And I was so thankful and I was making great money and I was feeling just so proud of myself. And I remember just feeling very powerful in that time period because I could point to this number on my bookkeeping spreadsheet and I could be like, I am this smart. I am this valuable. I am this important. I am this hardworking. And there's a number right there and I can prove it. If you want to see my bank account, it's right there. And that was easy for me in the sense of I was losing sleep. I was working hard. I was not seeing my friends. I was exhausted, but I had a tangible payoff. And that's always been my favorite kind because there's no way for my brain to dispute it. So I was very proud of my achievements during that time, which were mostly financial, but also just being able to travel with clients. And it was this weird thing because I was very happy, but I was also very lonely. And it was a constant blur because if I wasn't traveling without any of my friends or family, then I was at home, holed away in my office, doing things that I had to get done. So it was very isolating, but it was also a dream come true. And it was this weird moment of like, I'm so happy. I'm staying in this gorgeous, massive suite by myself in Vegas. I'm getting paid for it. What is my life? This is amazing. And also feeling like this is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm lonely. I have this weird out of body feeling like I'm looking at the sphere. I'm looking at the wind, the beautiful skyline. I'm here by myself. I'm in my nice outfit. It's 2 a.m. I just got back from whatever mixer we were supposed to have. And I realized no one there actually knows me, and I'm by myself, and I'm hundreds of miles from my home. And it was this weird thing where I'm like, why does my brain have to go to these places? But I remember sitting in the bathtub, and I was like, you know, your brain is fuzzy from the champagne, from whatever networking event we had that night. And I'm laying there and I'm just staring at the ceiling and I can see the skyline. And I'm like, I don't recognize my life. And it's not necessarily in a bad way. It's just everything and everyone I know is so not present in my life right now. I'm in and out of my own city. I'm not connected with everyone that I'm usually connected to. And I'm coming home to basically unpack and repack. And then it just felt so foreign to me. And I was like, I want to be in a situation where I am missed. And I know I was missed, but I want to be in a situation where I am not able to be gone for that long, if that makes sense. I talked about that in the episode where I led up to my miscarriage, deciding how we wanted to, when we decided that we were ready to try for a baby. But that's just kind of what clicked for me. And I was like, this is everything that I thought that I wanted. And it's very cool. And I'm so happy that I did it. And I will still take on work trips in the future. But that intense phase of my life, it just kind of reminded me that that is not everything. And there's also something very sobering about getting what you want and having this realization that it's not what you wanted, because you're like, well, then what am I supposed to try for now? Because I thought this was going to fix everything. And that's kind of how I felt, where everything was happening that was supposed to happen in my head. And then all of a sudden it wasn't fulfilling me like it was supposed to. And I was like, well, then what is going to? Because I'm making this money and I'm traveling and I have this cool Instagram and all my videos are cool and I'm not happy. And I was happy, but I wasn't fulfilled. That's what made me think and just be like, you know what, maybe it's time for something else. And, you know, someone else can do my job on the road, but no one else can be me at home in the lives of the people that I care about. And that's whenever I decided not to take on any more contracts for the time being. So that led me into middle of October. And then obviously from there, it just went straight from Halloween to my birthday to our anniversary, which is Halloween. And then, what am I even talking about? Sorry, I don't know why I lost my train of thought. Our anniversary is not Halloween. It's the 31st. The 31st is Halloween. The 30th is our anniversary. I swear I know when I got married. Anyways, went straight into my birthday, planning for all of that. And I had a great time. But you guys, we all know that it's just chaos around that. And then the emotional just roller coaster that I went on, from finding out that I was pregnant to being devastated and then just trying to figure out how to go on. And then I had a lot of guilt because this is, you know, a holiday season where I have both my grandparents and, you know, I have my friends and my husband and my family and my brother's home. And I felt so much pressure to maximize that and make the most of it and feel joyous and recognize my blessings and have these memories. And I just didn't feel like doing any of it. And I didn't want to watch holiday movies. I didn't want to listen to Christmas music. I didn't really want to do anything. I didn't want to ice skate. I just didn't feel up to it. And then I have this guilt of like, you're going to regret this. What if your life looks different for the worse next time? And you didn't, you know, whatever. You just go to dark places, and I just couldn't make myself enjoy it. And I had to kind of free myself from the burden of feeling like that was the most important thing, was to be holly jolly. And obviously we did a full episode about why it's not important, but whatever. So it was just very challenging. The new year, like I said, I wanted to have this epiphany, this eat, pray, love moment, and all I really did was eat. So I'm coming back and I'm now reflecting on and figuring out and kind of slow rolling my New Year's resolutions, because what's the freaking rush? But I have had some time to reflect, and I have had an epiphany of some sort, but you guys might think it's really stupid. So before I go into all that, I have some discussion group questions that I chose to ask myself. So I'm not going to edit my own self interviewing me this time, but I will ask them to myself. What am I the most proud of from 2023? I am proud of my growth, my resilience, my business accomplishments, of course, and most of all, I feel like I'm proud of the friendships that I have with all the women in my life. And that's something that I would never have thought to put on my vision board or anything else. I wouldn't have thought to make that a goal. But after having a couple years where I just didn't have the best experiences with other women and their intentions and things like that, I was kind of jaded. And this year I feel like I have the most expanse group of kind, sweet, genuine, caring, intelligent, beautiful, whatever women. And what better year than the year of the Barbie movie to experience that? But I really do feel like in the face of everything that I was struggling with, it became even more apparent than it already was that I have so many amazing people in my life, and I just treasure that more than I can ever express. I get so happy. Like, I just sometimes have this overwhelming love for the women. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, I'm so happy for this person. She got her master's degree, even if it's somebody that I just see on Instagram. But like the relationships that span from the baristas at the coffee shops that I frequent to the Instagram mutual friends that I have that we just DM about random things that we both have in common, or the friends of friends that we just mutually support each other. There's just so many people, women specifically, because I just don't fraternize with that many men. And I'm just so thankful. Like I just truly feel like I'm surrounded by the most welcoming community, and I hope that I can give all the love that I feel for them and have received from them back out into the world. So shout out to my girl gang. And like I said, I'm just proud of everything that I've gotten through, and I can look back and see the challenges, and I can also see that I am still here, and I might be, on fire and rolling around desperate to put the flames out, or whatever analogy you want to come up with, but I am still here. So proud of that, still kicking, and would like to not be on God's list for strongest soldiers to give his hardest battles to this year, but seems like there could be a clerical error and I might have made myself present on that list again. So anywho, what was the hardest lesson I learned? This one is just general, but it's the truth. I feel like things don't always go the way you want them to, but you will always be okay. And I've learned that in the past when my mom got breast cancer, and you don't always get the phone call you want. You don't always get the news that you want. You don't always get what you want. And sometimes the worst case scenario is the one that comes true, and it sucks. But you move on and you deal with it. And even if every day is a struggle and you don't know how you're going to go on, and you're angry and you're feeling like life isn't fair, and you just can barely pick up your legs to move one foot in front of the other, then you somehow find a way to do it and you move forward. And I think that that's a very difficult lesson to learn. And I think I'm still very much learning it. But I've gotten through all of my trials so far, and it hasn't always been pretty, but you know what? We are here. So I am going to consider that my hardest lesson. Also, not to touch the plates at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, because they do go under a broiler that is 500 degrees. And I did touch the plate because the server said, careful, hot plates. And I have a habit of being like, because I think I'm hilarious. And this time I did burn one whole fingerprint off of my hand. So that was another hard lesson. What was the overall theme of my year? Thank you for asking. I did write down 4 or 7. So here are my themes that I feel like encompass my year. Rise to the occasion. If you would have told me back in July or whenever that I was pre-traveling that I was going to go on this span of 3 months of constant going and being by myself and flying, and up to this point, like up until July, I had never even flown by myself. So to do all of these things was kind of revolutionary for me. And I just did it. And I don't mean that to sound like, oh, it's no big deal, I took care of it, it was so easy. Because it wasn't. I was freaking out. And there were a lot of times I was nervous and just feeling like I was so in over my head, and, getting home and feeling scattered and like, I can't do this. I overcommitted. I don't know what I'm doing. But I did it. And, however it happened, I can make it better in my head than it actually was. And that's okay. So I'm happy that I rose to the occasion on that. Lean on your people. I like to be the person who is there for others and checks in on my friends and shows up and goes to the ER and drops off care packages. And I feel very safe being that friend. And I don't feel very safe being the one who's not okay and expressing my emotions. And it's very vulnerable and it's very challenging. I like to be the funny one who's posting nonsense online and talking about comic books and just generally being nonsensical. But there are times whenever that's just not feasible for me to be. I can't always be that person, try as I might. And there are some situations that are just not easily traveled alone. So this year I've learned that it's very much okay to be not independent and to lean on everyone around you. And just like I would never, ever judge someone for their moments of weakness around me, I know that I have that same community. And it's been very good for me to learn to rely on them and to make the most of that blessing. Next, it's okay not to be okay. That's self-explanatory. I think before this year, I kind of thought everything was, you can muscle through it all. You can always just put it into a box, or you can think like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But I really don't think that it's not the hardest thing to let the hard situations toughen you up and give you a thick skin. I feel like the hardest thing is to stay soft and to stay gentle and to stay hopeful and to stay positive in the face of all those things, because it's easy to let things make you jaded and to make you angry and to make you tired and frustrated and bitter and resentful. But it's hard to stay kind and to stay soft and to stay, open-minded and joyous and to look for silly things whenever everything seems dark and cloudy. And that's what I'm really trying to focus on, because instinct, even right now, I told you guys I'm having a hard time. Instinct says, screw everything, isolate yourself, cancel your plans, just throw yourself into your work, do whatever you need to do and just hide from it basically, and just become, scaled and leathery and unhappy because it won't hurt as much. But if you do that, then you don't get to lean on your people and you don't feel the joys and you don't get to feel the triumph whenever it actually is your turn to experience those things. So hopefully that makes sense. I know I can get a little metaphorical, but feel the pain and let it go. You can't just brush over your pain. You can't just stick it into a box. It won't always leak out. It's best just to feel it and to let yourself experience it and get confused by it and let it out and be upset and angry, even at God. And that's a hard lesson to learn for somebody who's grown up being a person of faith, is that it's okay to be angry at God, and it doesn't make you any less of a Christian or of a person, that you can be very, very unhappy and, screaming that it's not fair and whatever else it is, but he can take it. And I think that a faith where you're afraid to ask questions is not a very strong faith at all. And you're tougher than you think. So sometimes I don't feel that way. Sometimes I'm like, I would never have expected myself to be crying over this or to be struggling over this or whatever. But you know what? No matter what my traveling looks like, I have made it through all of these things. So round of applause for me. Thank you. What do I want to accomplish in 2024? Thank you again for asking that. I want to have more peace, more contentment, more joy in small things. And I want it to be independent of my circumstances. So the beginning of this year, I was learning how to be okay if my business was slower. And as soon as I was okay with that, I feel like it picked up and it turned into this crazy extreme whirlwind. And then I was learning to be okay with no free time, with no social time, with no whatever. And then I learned that. And then I go through this crazy emotional crisis. And it just has taught me that there's nothing concrete. There is nothing that is predictable about, life and the stage that you're in. And especially right now being in my mid-20s, it's like a crazy transitional season and nothing is guaranteed. And you're not even promised tomorrow. So I just want to make sure that I'm finding the maximum amount of joy that I can in every day, no matter how big or small it is. And it's a conscious choice that I had to make, because whenever I was in the depths of my sadness and my confusion and just getting through grief, I had to make a conscious choice to do silly things to make myself happy. Like I know that, making a fun YouTube video or a fun Instagram video makes me happy. So I decided to do Vlogmas. And then I worried and overthought it, because I was like, people are going to think that I'm not taking my own pain seriously and that I'm just bouncing back too fast and that this is so insensitive. And even though it's no one's business, I still worried that it was not the appropriate reaction of me, even though who is to determine that for me? But it makes me happy, and to film those things and to get to edit them and create content takes my mind off of my pain, and it gave me an outlet and it made me happy. So I had to consciously make myself do those things. I had to make myself go get coffee and talk to my friends. I had to make myself take the extra time to make hot chocolate and put the little gingerbread man on the side and watch my favorite movies and to read whenever you just feel like staring at a wall. And it would be so easy just to sit there and to be sad and to be angry. But I had to make myself do all the things that felt trivial and felt inconsequential, because that's where most of life's joy is found. Every day is not going to be this overwhelming fountain of happiness. Good news doesn't come every day. Big things don't happen every day, but you can have small little victories in every part of your life if you're just okay with the small ones. And that's, I think, what I want to really focus on. I know words of the year are they're all the rage these days. So this one is going to resonate with my reader girls. So my word of the year is ataraxia. And if you've read A Court of Silver Flames, you know where that's from. But it didn't really resonate with me as much until I went through everything that I have gone through. But let me just read you this word, if I may. Ataraxia is a Greek term that roughly translates to impassivity or undisturbedness in English. It's a state of serene tranquility and freedom from emotional disturbance. In broader terms, ataraxia can be seen as a goal of inner peace, calmness, and emotional balance. It reflects a state of mind where one is not easily disturbed by external events, allowing for a more tranquil and harmonious existence. Now, if that doesn't just sound like the bee's knees. So, ataraxia is my word of the year. Inner peace, calmness, contentment, independently of one's circumstances. So I know that makes me sound like I'm just all hippie on you guys, but maybe I am, and that's okay. I just want to be able to be happy regardless of how good or how bad things get, because one phrase I've always loved, which is like the most cliche phrase of all time, is "this too shall pass." And it works for me in all situations, because whenever I'm dealing with something challenging, like right now, I can remind myself that this too shall pass. I will be happy again. I will feel alive and weightless, and, I will be free again. And whenever I'm feeling on top of the world, I remind myself that, this too shall pass, and this is fleeting, and nothing is forever, and I should cherish every single second of the sunshine while it's out, because you never know when the storm's going to roll in. So this too shall pass is one of my mantras, my personal little things that is scribbled on the walls of my brain in crayon. Anywho, that's my word of the year. So it's different for me because I don't typically let myself get by the first of the year without setting, 10 smart goals. Are they specific? Are they measurable? Are they attainable? Are they realistic? And are they whatever? I usually am the biggest goal setter. I'm a type 3. I am a Scorpio through and through. I'm very accomplishment driven. I'm very quantifiable, goal oriented. So to get to the end of the year and kind of just get thrown across the finish line, it's like a very, very foreign concept for me to get into January and be on the 10th and be like, I'm just kicking it. I'm just getting by, and not in the way that I'm like, struggling to take a shower. I have been there and I'm not there now, but I just don't have anything that's like setting me on fire right now. And I'm in this weird place where I don't want to keep referring everything back to my miscarriage, but that's where I'm at right now. And I think it can probably apply to a lot of people regardless of the circumstances that they're in. But I thought that my life was changing, and I thought that I was going to be setting goals like paint the nursery and throw a whatever shower. And I guess you don't throw this for yourself, but listen, it's my first time, okay? So I thought that my goals would look very different, and I had goals in my head, and I had plans and things I was excited for and everything else. And obviously that's not going to come to fruition right now. And I'm in a weird spot where I feel like I don't know when I'm going to be ready to try again. Not that it's anybody's business, but I have made it everybody's business by sharing my life online. And I feel like I owe it to those who have been so gracious in sharing their own journey with me to be honest about mine. But the truth is, as much as I am excited to try again and am ready for a baby, I am also so paralyzed by fear. I don't know how I'm going to allow myself to try. And then, am I late yet? Can I take a test yet? And just even that part of it, I feel like I'm more content not trying and knowing that I'm not getting pregnant because I'm not trying, versus, yes, I'm ready to try again, and then not getting pregnant, and then feeling like something is wrong, and then worrying. And I just don't know if I'm ready to open myself up to all of that yet. And there's just so much I could dive into. I'm already at over an hour, and I'm not even close to being done, guys. But it's almost like my fears have been reaffirmed of, I felt like I wasn't maternal. I felt like I wasn't cut out for motherhood. I felt like it's not going to come naturally to me. And then I got pregnant and I was just over the moon and I was like, I'll figure it out. You know what? It's fine. And then I lost the baby and it's almost like in my darker moments, because grief is not linear and healing is not linear. When I have my low moments, that's what comes back to haunt me is you were right the first time and you're not cut out to be a mom. And obviously that's why this happened. And other people around you are, and that's why they're pregnant and you're not. And then it makes me want to just cut and run and turn back to my comfort zone and live in my business and live in the gym and live in my silly personality and just not let myself be opened back up to the depth of those emotions and that hope and all that again. Damn, sorry guys. I really thought that was past all that, but here we are. Pivoting, I have decided to set a new kind of New Year's goal, and it can be a resolution, it can be a goal, it's whatever. It's just a little thing that I want to do. But I'm not setting big, grandiose goals this year because I don't know what my year will look like. I don't know when I'm going to be ready to try again. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know if we'll get pregnant this year. I don't know if I'm wanting to get pregnant this year. I don't know anything. I don't even know what is going on inside my noggin most days. But I know that I can set goals that are independent of all those circumstances. If I've learned anything this year, it's that I can't count on how slow or busy my business will be. I can't count on what the economy is going to do. I can't count on if I'm going to get sick or if I'm not, if I'm going to get pregnant or if I'm not. I just don't know. And it's very difficult for someone like me to be in that position because I'm not a go with the flow kind of girly. I like to control the flow. I would like to be the one holding the hose that emits the flow, if at all possible. Unfortunately, God has not answered my request for that position as of now. So until I am in control of the flow, I have no choice but to just go with it. And in the lazy river of life, I am clinging to my little inner tube. So here are the things that I can do whilst floating along. I can see a movie in theaters once monthly. Very silly, but every time I go, I'm like, why don't I do this more? I love going to the movies. I love seeing previews. I love the popcorn. It's such a fun time. I love movies. I just never go. I never make the time to go. I'm even an AMC Stubs rewards member. I have points built up. I have gift cards. Why don't I go? Anyways, my goal is to see one movie in theaters a month. Next goal was inspired by the cruise. I want to see every sunset possible. And even if I have to stop what I'm doing and run to the nearest window or outside area, I would like to see every sunset that I can because it's just a beautiful, surreal part of every day that I think we take for granted. And seeing them all on the cruise, even getting up early to go see the sunrise, I'm not going to commit to that because you know what? I do tend to stay up very late. So I'm not going to commit to sunrises. But sunsets I can do. And I'm not going to say every single day or anything. I'm just going to say as many as I can. Participate in Treat Yourself Friday. This I am going to commit to because I think I have not missed a Treat Yourself Friday in about 4 years. So I will also be treating myself probably other days. But for those of you who don't know, Treat Yourself Friday was incepted by me in 2019-20. I was working in bookkeeping and it was not very fun. And I wasn't necessarily a flush with cash. So I had to limit my treats, i.e. a coffee, to once a week. So every Friday I would stop at a coffee shop near my apartment and my work and grab myself a coffee and started calling it Treat Yourself Friday. And now, even though I rarely, if ever, deny myself a treat, I still consider Friday Treat Yourself Friday, and it's gotten adopted by some of my lovely friends at Urban Grounds and, just people around the area that also fancy a good treat. So that's one of my biggest commitments, is just to find something to look forward to, get myself a little treat, and really romanticize it. Next, learn a fun new editing skill every month. This is, again, it doesn't matter. I don't make money on these things. I don't foresee a future for myself in visual effects, even though it would be amazing. But it's just fun. I have a good time. I don't even know if anybody else cares about them but me, but I watch my own videos enough for the rest of you guys. So it's just a fun challenge for me, and it keeps me active. It's like whenever your hamster has to run on the wheel or get the treats out, it helps keep their brain active so it doesn't turn into mush. That's what video editing is for me. So it's my mental enrichment time. Read instead of scroll before bed. It's just better for my eyes and for my brain, and everyone knows this. This is probably my only, well, there's one other one. I have two actual productive, healthy hobbies or resolutions. One of them is read, don't scroll. even though it's not going to result in getting more sleep, because whenever I read, I will stay up also until 2 a.m., but at least it's not squinting at a screen that's this far from my face, watching TikToks. Next, this is my second and final healthy resolution. It's to eat more protein. My two favorite food groups are candy and carbs. And given that I survive on coffee until about 7 p.m. most days, and then I just gorge myself on whatever I can find, I do need to eat more protein. I think if I could start getting, an egg or two in my body in the day, it would probably yield positive results. So we'll see. Notice how I didn't say eat a certain number of protein grams per day, just eat more. So next goal is to also eat more candy. I feel like we as a society like to villainize candy because we're all trying to be healthy, especially this time of year. But you know what? Candy is the best. It makes me happy. And my public love for candy has resulted in a lot of people surprising me with Nerds clusters and peach rings, and it has brought me so much joy. So yeah, my resolution is to eat more candy. Coffee with a friend once a week. I still haven't recovered from being so isolated from everyone, being gone. And after realizing how fortunate I am to have the support system that I have, I want to make sure that I am really, really cherishing that by seeing people. And there's nothing that can replace human connection. And even though I do love my alone time, there's just nothing better than having coffee and catching up and, hearing about someone's life and their goals and what's going on with them and just having that circle of people. So once a week. Let me know if you want on the list because I love to make friends. FaceTime my brother once per week. You guys met him. He's all right. We are close now, and I just don't want to let that slip away. I do value his friendship quite a bit and the man that he's becoming, so I want to make sure that we stay in touch and also that he does feel comfortable enough to inform me when he does find a girlfriend. So you guys stay on him, stay in his DMs, whatever you're up to. I am rooting for you. Hope to see you at Thanksgiving. See my grandparents once a week. You guys know I love the Silvers. I pretty much do this anyways, but I just like to put it on there because they matter to me quite a bit. Throw more themed parties. This is always all over Pinterest and TikTok about throwing parties for whatever reason, like for a solstice or a PowerPoint night or whatever else. And I just think, why don't I do that? Because every single time I see one, I send it to my friends and I'm like, oh my gosh, we should do this. Then I never do. And there's a Dollar Tree right down the street from my house. We can surely pool our resources and get together some supplies. I love to dress up. What's the reason that I'm not doing that? There is not one. So more themed parties. Let me know if you have a suggestion on what I should do first. And lastly, be more openly nerdy, fangirl harder, and care less about public perception. This is going to sound like, I don't think you can get much worse, girl. I really don't. The answer is, yeah, I can, because I probably hold back a lot of my thoughts, opinions, and delusions online. But I think it's been so freeing for me this year to just post whatever I want to post and to make my little videos and to do everything else because I think it's fun. And every time I do it, I care a little bit less about what people think and I stop looking at numbers, and I really have gotten to a point where I'm like, that's cool in my brain, therefore it goes online. And you could say that's a slippery slope, but I think it's just so fun to care about things. And especially when we get older, that kind of gets beaten out of us because you're supposed to think about things that make you healthier or make you more attractive or make you money or whatever. But I want to enjoy and indulge in more things that are just fun and meaningless and things that bring joy to my life but don't necessarily bring me health or money or anything else. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to regress in 2024. I'm going to get worse. I'm vowing to read fewer self-help books and listen to fewer self-help podcasts. Nonfiction is in. No, that's incorrect. Nonfiction is out. Fiction is in. Self-help is out. Entertainment is in. Fantasy is in. That's just for me personally. I've gone through stages where the most fulfilling thing is to have big, aggressive, passionate goals and to chase them with everything in me. And those have been amazing years, but that's just not where I'm at right now. And I'm sure that when Miss Brianna joins us, she'll have a great perspective as well. But just the stage of life that I'm in, I want to focus on enriching my life and making it colorful again and just making it the happiest, most vibrant, amazing year that I can, regardless of what happens, and finding that ataraxia that we all want. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That does conclude my notes. I'm really impressed that I got through all of that. So I'm going to keep reading my little fantasy books. If you want me to add you to a little private story so I can post all my fun memes or anything else that I have, regarding to my fantasy worlds, let a girl know. I will happily add you, and we can discuss my fan cast for all the books that I've read together. It'll be great. Other than that, let me know about any themed parties that you want me to throw. Maybe we can have a little group party. If you want to have coffee, let me know. You can help me achieve my New Year's resolutions. If you are struggling with any of the things that I'm struggling with, let's talk about it. You're not going through this alone. It's going to be an amazing year. I would also love to see anyone's vision boards, New Year's resolutions, anything. I just love to talk to people, and I love the connection of all of it. So thanks for tuning in with me for 75 minutes. That's all I got. Love you guys. Can't wait to talk to you. Bye.